Hello again, everybody. Scott Casper, Takedown Wrestling. We continue our coverage of the sport. This time we turn to the pro side, and rightfully so. Three-time WWE Women's Champion Beth Phoenix will mount the Nike hot seat this morning. Why? Because she's going to be receiving the Frank Gotch Award at the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Dan Gable Museum in Waterloo, Iowa soon. She joins us now. Beth, how are you?
I'm great, Scott. How are you?
Good. May I break kayfabe and use your real name?
Absolutely, if you can pronounce it.
Beth Kocianski, and I always ask because some pro wrestlers, male or female, would prefer to have their stage name used, but both you and Adam, your significant other, Adam Copeland, otherwise known as Edge. I mean, he has been very open as an actor about using his real name, and you are the same, and I'm glad for that. So,
Yeah, we both have a perspective on it that and while I was working for WWE, it certainly, I didn't adopt that philosophy at all when I was there. I tried to any sort of interaction I had with the public, be it Twitter or whatnot, I tried to keep it pretty in tune with storylines
sure.
and whatever I was doing with the company. But I'm just me now. I don't work for WWE anymore. So, my name is Beth Kocianski, and Beth Phoenix was a character that I played for many years and is near and dear to my heart. And Adam feels the same way. It's just that, he was there for so many years, and Edge is so ingrained that sometimes it's tough to like separate, especially folks that only knew us from the show. So we try to kind of emphasize that we prefer to be called by our real names, and yeah, because we're in real life right now. We're
We are
in
in
the thick of
Rotterdam.
it.
And now you're getting recognized, and it's significant that you're getting the Frank Gotch Award for a couple reasons. One, you're the first female to ever get it, and to be awarded. Other well-known recipients, buddies of yours, Mick Foley, Hacksaw, Jim Duggan, Teddy DiBiase, one of my dear friends, Dan Severn, have all won it. What's it like knowing that your work and the way you've represented the sport has earned this distinction?
It's absolutely humbling because all of the names you just rattled off, not only, were they gentlemen that I looked up to and learned from, Ted DiBiase was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up. But, just the work that they've done outside the ring and the type of people they are and how many lives they've touched, and the effort they put forth, in charitable ways. Jim Duggan is just a ball of happiness and energy, and Mick is wonderful, and he's so outspoken when it comes to supporting the women in wrestling, and he supports a great cause called RAIN that's also supportive of women that have dealt with abuse. And just to be in that same realm, it's hard enough for me to think that I have already retired from a wrestling career, because to me it happens so fast. But to be recognized like that and be categorized with these gentlemen is pretty amazing, because I just, I have so much respect for them, and I'm really looking forward to Iowa and seeing everybody that comes. So it should be great.
You had a successful amateur wrestling career in high school. What attracted you to the sport initially?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I had a dream of being a pro wrestler, and coming from a small town, Elmira, New York, I didn't know anybody in pro wrestling. I didn't know how you become a pro wrestler. There was no books written on it. So, I mean, I made the assumption that amateur wrestling is obviously how you graduate to pro wrestling. So, and I knew that sport had sort of almost like a mystique. It was a club. It was so much more than just a sport. It was a camaraderie, like a fraternity. And I just loved the way the team was so melded together, and you had camaraderie is the best way I can describe it. So I was attracted to it, and being, the challenge that it was. But the time that I, was pursuing it in high school was almost 20 years ago. Women on the wrestling team wasn't as there were no Ronda Rouseys breaking down barriers, in the mainstream. It was happening, but it was just in the infancy of the women really kind of entering, the amateur wrestling mat. There was a lot in the Midwest, but not in the Northeast. So it was kind of a risky decision for me, and but it paid off great, because above all, I learned how important it is to dedicate yourself, to work hard. And having had to wrestle on the boys team, I was so much farther behind physically just because of being a girl, that I felt like log in so many extra hours of working out and training and learning. If nothing else, it taught me commitment to a sport. When you want to do something, don't do it half, do it full out. So I really treasured those moments learning from my team.
No, and I tell you what, you just broke down every reason why I do what I do every single day of the week, and it's all about that commitment. What you learned early. You made a successful debut in the pro ranks in May of 2001, after being trained where at the All Nighters.
I trained with Ron Hutchison in AWF in Toronto,
Okay.
and the All Nighters helped with my training. And so, once I entered the pro ranks, I was bigger than most of the other girls, and I had the idea that I wanted to do all this high flying stuff when I entered. And so most of the girls I were wrestling were like 6 inches shorter than me and these tiny little things. And so I wasn't really physically the one that would be doing a lot of the high flying. I was more often the girl that would be doing the posting and the throwing. And, so quickly my perception of what I was in the ring started to change. Unless I was wrestling men, which I did often because there wasn't a girl at the, local independent promotion,
Sure.
or if there was a girl, maybe she wasn't as experienced. So I kind of got put into this role of being like a heel leader because I was bigger and I could slow it down and really, lay on some heat and really physically be more imposing and build sympathy for the other character.
And then it was 5 years later, which for some seems like a long time, but man, in the pro wrestling business, to transition as you did through the various promotions, the indie shows, showing up wrestling for $10, $15, or whatever it is, gas money, food, whatever. You put your time in, but then the WWE came calling, and you made your brand debut for Raw some 5 years later to the month, right? I mean, it was like May 2006.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say the WWE came calling. It was more me banging down their door till they just were like, here's a contract. Stop bothering us," because I just wouldn't go away. And yeah, no, I made my debut a few years later, and it was a short one because after I debuted on Raw, I was only on the road for 5 weeks and I broke my jaw.
Oh my gosh.
So it was kind of like a tiny little taste of the big show. Here I was on Monday Night Raw, and again, really not quite prepared for what was before me. And then I was injured and sent back to the developmental territory, where it was actually the best thing that ever happened to me, because I don't feel like I was quite prepared for the road and the competition and what it takes to be a leader and to make a mark. So that extra year I spent after being injured in the developmental territory, really, I was training a lot with Al Snow and Lance Storm, Danny Davis, and really learning how to work a match as opposed to just do a bunch of stuff out there, and they taught me a lot about psychology, and it helped quite a bit.
You mentioned Al Snow. Last night, working with Mick Foley, he said he was pleased to be able to work with so many great WWE superstars and Al Snow.
Yeah, they have a long running little feud going on.
I love Al. He's a hard worker, and when he trains hard. And who gave you the nickname the Glamazon? Because not that you don't resemble that. I think that's probably one of the most perfect of nicknames for a wrestler. In your case, great looks, but physicality. Man, did the effort that you put into the gym absolutely showed.
Well, after I got injured, I was, like I said, in OVW. I was healed from the injury in about 2 months, and then kind of floundered a little bit in the developmental, trying to find something that would get me noticed again to get brought up to the main roster. Because, if there's not really an opportunity, you could be sitting down there, and then they could say, okay, you're just not going to cut it, or it's not good timing, and they could fire you very easily. So I was looking for something to get some attention. And so I had heard the word on Sex in the City. Sarah Jessica Parker's character had used it on the show, saying a glamazon in the fashion world. And I was like, oh man, I was like, that would be amazing, because I don't want to just be, the big girl. I want to be, a beautiful terror,
Right, right.
if that's any indication, and I also kind of wanted to break down those walls for women and be an example of like, okay, you can be a beautiful, glamorous, appealing woman and kick some butt. So I started putting it on my gear, just on my butt, right across the butt, Glamazon, and never really added any explanation. And then a couple months later, WWE saw a small opportunity for me and slipped me back into the main roster without any big plans for me. And I started to do house show matches with Candice Michelle. And I thought, well, I have this opportunity. Arn Anderson and William Regal saw us doing a couple of things in the ring, and were like, why don't you do this and that? And they gave us like a couple of tweaks, couple ideas, and had me wrestle like a killer. And Candice was awesomely game to do anything that we asked. So we had these really, rocky, Ivan Drago type of matches where she was just fighting from underneath. And soon thereafter, WWE said, you know what, we like that Glamazon moniker. We're gonna go with that. And so that's kind of how it was born. But it began from Sex in the City.
I like it, I'm a fan of Sarah Jessica Parker and her husband, so I'm
Yeah.
absolutely. I didn't know if that was, and you know how WWE will brand you if you come in and they've got a great idea. Perhaps that'll be your moniker they give you, and then they own it. But you've actually, I think, risen above that. You mentioned leading women and opening up doors and opportunities, being a good example. Obviously raised right in Elmira, New York. Your parents obviously did something right, and giving
My
you
parents
opportunities, endorsing you, embracing the idea of you being a wrestler within the USA Wrestling membership, earning a championship at Notre Dame High. I just think the way you've done it has been pretty darn good.
Well, I appreciate, you mentioning my parents. I think that along the way, they've kind of bared the brunt of a lot of my heartbreaks and pains and surgeries and all this crap. And they really didn't get much of a thank you along the way, like, publicly, because the ones that love you the most sometimes don't get the most recognition. And they were awesome. They were supportive, terrified at times, because there was, a lot of scary stuff and traveling all over the world. And, it's hard to let your baby girl go and pursue such a path, but they were awesomely supportive and taught me so much about myself and supported me totally on this journey. And now they're wonderful grandparents. So yeah, I appreciate you mentioning them, because they're really awesome. My brother as well. They're a
And
tight knit little group.
yeah, well, we have to mention all the family, I suppose. Now, you have a little baby. Is she 22 months old?
18 months. You
18
might hear
months.
her in the background. She's toddling around and busy into everything. So
Now,
she's
her name is Lyric. Is that right?
lyric,
How
yes.
did you all come up with that name?
Well, I had kind of a long labor experience. I was in labor for a couple of days struggling. So we had a list of names. We didn't, decide on a name until we wanted to see her and then decide, okay, this is your name, really feel that moment. And so we had a list of names, and Lyric wasn't on it. And I was having a bad contraction. And right in the middle of the contraction, Adam's like, what do you think about the name Lyric? And I'm like, I don't care, whatever. Yeah, sure, write it down. Like, stop talking. And then we're laying there in our baby bliss after she was born, and looking at her, and I'm like, you're Lyric. I just knew it. I don't know where it came from. It just kind of popped in his head, and it totally wasn't on our list of names. And then we're just like, that's it. It's Lyric. I don't know. She looked like, and then I always use the saying that she's the song of my heart, because she's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I'm really happy being a mom. So
The song of your heart.
she's the song of my heart.
That
So
is outstanding. Well, that's so far this interview has gone exactly like I'd hoped it would. I'm learning, and you're endorsing everything I thought perhaps you might be, and a kind person. I think it's neat how you have taken from Ted DiBiase about giving back. The variety clubs are happy to have our friend Hacksaw Jim Duggan be such a great part of the Variety Club Children's Charities. Well, you've done a great job of putting your name on something called Headlock on Hunger, which is to end hunger for kids through direct giving. And I love that idea where there's not a middleman, there's not a food bank or pantry. Food is distributed. And you and Adam will be on a truck unloading canned food items or food, whatever, in various forms, and getting in there, not just putting your name up, but out there getting your hands dirty, as it were. Talk a little bit about Headlock on Hunger.
Yeah, it's a wonderful program affiliated with Evelyn Charities, and it's very close to our hearts having a child. And both of us grew up kind of in a situation where you really appreciated everything, anything small, even food, because we didn't grow up with a lot of money, a lot of things weren't very, we didn't have a lot growing up. So it meant a lot to us to be able to kind of be a part of this. And, we have the opportunity to attach our, I guess, fan following from wrestling and get the word out, because we have like a good Twitter following and people know us from wrestling. So the wrestling facade is awesome because we can use it to get the word out on this wonderful charity. But then what's awesome is we have a great pickup truck. We've got a Tundra, Toyota Tundra. So we have, a great vehicle for literally hauling any type of food, donations, and making stops at schools and talking to kids. And it doesn't have to be about wrestling. It can be about them or things they're going through. And, we're just happy to play a part in this. And, we have so many other folks that are joining us. JR is going to be coming to the Asheville area June 10th, I believe, and joining us for a get together and a signing. And we're gonna try to get as much of the message out there on how you can join the fight and help these kids to make sure that every day of the week, whether they're in school or not, when they go home, they have a full belly. Because I associated meals when I was a child with love. My grandparents, and those meals were made with love, and all of our deliveries are done with love. And we just want them to know that no matter what, no matter where they go, they're cared for, they're loved, and we're going to do our best from this avenue to fight hunger.
Fans, you can be a part of it. Headlockonhunger.net. Information there on how you can be involved with people like Beth, with people like Adam and JR, and so many great folks. And it's what's neat is that it's like Murdoch said. He said, Scott, this is just one of the ways that we choose to give back, and you're doing it very publicly and for all the right reasons. Beth, congratulations on the recognition you'll be receiving July 9th through the 11th in Waterloo, Iowa, the Frank Gotch, getting the Frank Gotch Award, which obviously named for the former heavyweight champ out of Humboldt, Iowa. What an honor it is to know that you're going to be representing women, and in particular, great women athletes. And if I had a buck right now and could have bet that dollar on your career had it gone on 10 years later, I would say you'd probably be challenging at this time of your life for a championship within the UFC or an organization like the UFC. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm kind of in that middle era. I'm not quite in the Sherry Martells and the Medusas and, the Mullahs that were the real trailblazers.
Right.
And then, I'm kind of not in the era of women that are coming on the scene today, like the Ronda Rouseys, and, just bursting on the scene and changing things and really creating like a media frenzy for girl power. But I feel like I contributed somewhere in the middle in helping that journey come along. Oh, excuse my dogs. And, just creating like I said, like a journey. Hey, obviously my dog agrees. And just, I feel like I was a part of, I feel like if I helped the women, the positive women role model movement go forward one little step, then I've done my job. So I know this world is going to be an amazing place for my daughter to grow up in. And that's what excites me these days more than anything.
I am so. I mean, I start every Monday with a pretty good attitude, but I'm in a much better place having interviewed you to start my day. Beth, congratulations. Best to Adam. Looking forward to seeing you in Waterloo. Again, fans, you can join us July 9th through 11th. There'll be a pro show produced by Troy Peterson and company with some of the stars. I've had the pleasure of being involved in those shows and laying some heavy forearms across the back of the bad guys, and it just may happen again this year. We'll see. Beth, congratulations. We're looking forward to seeing you out there. And again, our best to Adam, your family. And thanks for the real positive note on this whole interview. It's just been tremendous.
Well, I feel wonderful about this whole, about the whole trip to Iowa. And it makes me feel really happy and proud. So thank you for, recognizing me and giving me this time. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you in person.
Were you comfortable in the Nike hot seat?
I was. I am sweating a little bit, but that might be due to the fact that I can hear my toddler getting into something. So,
it sounds like Lyric is actually building something back there in the back.
Well, we're having some construction done on a playroom, actually. So it's never a slow day over here at the Copeland household. I'll let you know. We're always busy.
Beth Kocianski has been our guest live from Asheville, North Carolina. She's been populating the Nike hot seat today. Our pleasure to recognize her for not just the work she's doing, but for the awards and the recognition that she's receiving for a job well done. What's next for her? Well, stay tuned. We'll be telling you that in coming weeks. She's been our guest today on Takedown, and we appreciate you watching. Beth, again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. We'll see you soon.